You've probably heard this before. Cardio kills your gains. And honestly, most strength trainers and recreational lifters believe this to some extent. A lot of people avoid cardio completely because they think it's going to shrink their muscles, lower their strength, or mess up their progress. But if you're someone who trains like that, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to challenge the idea using updated research that combining cardio and resistance training can actually improve performance when it's done correctly. But before we even talk about muscle, we need to understand why cardio matters in the first place. Research on cardiovascular fitness shows that VO2 max, which measures how effectively your body uses oxygen, is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. A large 2018 cohort study found that higher fitness levels were consistently associated with lower risk of death. So, in simple terms, better cardio fitness is directly linked to living longer. Now, on the muscle side of things, resistance training is just as important. Research on muscle fibers show that as we age, fast twitch fibers, the ones responsible for strength and power, decline significantly, and aerobic training alone doesn't fully prevent this loss, which is why resistance training is critical for preserving strength and function over time. So both types of training clearly matter, and when you combine both, the benefits are even greater. A 2019 meta-analysis found that resistance training alone reduced all-cause mortality risk by about 21%, but combining cardio and resistance training reduced it by about 40%. So not only do both matter, they're actually better together. So if cardio is this beneficial, why do so many lifters avoid it? The answer comes from something called the interference effect. This is the idea that endurance training can interfere with muscle and strength adaptations when combined with resistance training. One of the earliest studies by Hickinson in the 1980s showed that people who did both cardio and lifting had lower strength gains in compared to those who only lifted. Later, a 2012 meta-analysis by Wilson also found reductions in hypertrophy and strength when combining both. And researchers like Doctry and Sparrow propose that endurance and strength training compete for adaptations of the body. This is partially explained by what researchers call competing adaptations, when endurance training shifts the body toward energy efficiency, while resistance training focuses on muscle growth and force production. So, this belief didn't come from nowhere. There was real research behind it. But here's the part most people miss. A lot of these studies use extremely high training volumes. People were lifting multiple times per week and doing cardio almost every day. That's not realistic for most lifters. That's just plain overtraining. So the real question becomes, was it cardio or was it poor training structure? Most recent research gives a much clearer answer. Updated meta-analysis by researchers like Schumann found that combining cardio and resistance training does not significantly reduce muscle growth or strength gains when training is structured properly. More recent meta-analysis and reviews confirm that in most realistic training conditions, these interference effects are much smaller than originally thought. Research by Fife and Cathbar also shows that strength and endurance training activate different signaling pathways in the body, but they are not mutually exclusive. They don't simply cancel each other out. Instead, what actually determines results is training volume, intensity, and recovery. And this is where things start to shift. Because instead of asking, should I avoid cardio? The better question is, how should I use cardio correctly? And this is something a lot of lifters overlook. Better cardiovascular fitness can improve your lifting performance. For example, if your heart rate spikes after just a few heavy reps and you're out of breath between sets, that's not a strength issue, that's a conditioning issue. Better endurance helps you recover faster between sets, maintain intensity across your workout, and handle more total training volume, which can actually lead to better long term muscle growth. So, in that sense, cardio isn't limiting your performance, it can actually support it. There's also a fat loss side of this. A lot of people rely on lifting to get lean, but adding cardio increases calorie expenditure and improving energy balance. So instead of hurting your physique, cardio can actually improve body composition. And for recreational lifters trying to look better, perform better, and stay healthy, that matters. Now, this doesn't mean interference doesn't exist. It just depends on context. In extreme situations, like combining marathon level endurance training with high level strength training, interference is far more likely. This is especially true for highly trained individuals where small differences in recovery and fatigue have a bigger impact. There's also evidence that explosive power can be affected more than general muscle growth. So the interference effect is real, but for most recreational lifters, it's not as big as a problem as people think. So what actually causes interference? Too much volume, poor recovery, and excessive fatigue, not cardio itself. Research on training intensity shows that when those variables are controlled, interference is minimal. So the real problem isn't cardio, it's just plain simple poor programming. So here's what you should actually do. If your goal is strength or muscle growth, lift first. Research by Morales shows that training order matters, and lifting first leads to better strength outcomes. If your goal is endurance, run first. Then manage your volume. You don't need a huge amount of cardio to benefit. Control intensity. Not every session needs to be max effort. And prioritize recovery. Sleep, nutrition, and rest matter more than people realize. And most importantly, be intentional. At the end of the day, cardio doesn't kill your gains. The interference effect is real, but it's often misunderstood and exaggerated. If you're someone who avoids cardio because you think it's hurting your progress, the research shows that's not the real issue. What matters is how you train. So instead of cutting cardio out completely, start incorporating it intentionally. Train smarter because you don't have to choose between strength and endurance.